opponent team, QG, actually did very well, finished third in the Demacia Cup, for example. A lot was thought of Kink. They made finals, but again, kind of flooded to deceive in the finals. And then we look at Cho'Go. They're expected to do very well. Nobody really knows what to make of either Snake in the LPL Spring or Unlimited Potential in the LPL Summer. So the sky's the limit clear, and they've got definitely a path to follow on the other side of this this match.
I think the other thing, though, is if we're going to expect some surprises from Unlimited Potential, you know, they're a new team, maybe not as much research being able to be done here. Snake might not have that much experience against them. Snake are never a team that you want to take too lightly because they have already done crazy things in the past, and we've already had Evil and Rek'Sai on the same team in a game. Very curious to see what our next best of 2 brings us.
And look, obviously devastated to not go to MSI and get some international practice, but I feel like Snake, they just need to train up more champions. It felt like their champion pools, not so much Flandre, who pulled up Teleport Smite, who pulled over Trundle and did all sorts of innovative things, but specifically in the mid lane, it was found wanting. And to some degree in the AD carry role, suddenly Draven and Kalista wasn't always the picks they needed from the AD carry role. Martin will bring something different, but has Crystal trained himself on some other champions? If I can think of a hyper carry that Crystal should be able to play, it's Jinx.
Yeah, it is Jinx, so we'll see what does go down here. Nunu, Gragas actually banned there by Snake, so 2 jungle bans with Beast even showing respect. He's an amazing Nunu player himself, so lots of respect there to Amy as well. Kalista, Hecarim, 2 bans, very smart stuff from Unlimited Potential. Most people like to ban away at least Kalista from Crystal, and 10 seconds left for Snake's next ban. We'll see what Flandre wants to take away for his team.
It's a big statement of respect to ban 2 junglers on blue side. Couldn't even look to snap away the Gragas. Was happy to just ban them away. Maokai's the final ban. Another champ that Flandre played a lot, of course. Feels like in general, Snake are banning out champions they'd quite like to pick as well. So they must have a very high priority first pick, or they think there's a situation where they can pick a champ and not give away 2 power picks in the first rotation to Unlimited Potential.
Yeah, I think how quickly they take their first pick might be an indicator here, because this does look like they're setting up for something. You can see
it's a suspicious pick ban from Snake.
It is. I mean, they're very crafty. Snake, again, they have done some things in the last season, so we'll see if they can get that magic going once again. Here is UP. Going to work on their last ban. Don't have too much longer to take it away, and it is going to be Urgot, actually, away from Crystal.
Is there anything they want to snap up? Rek'Sai is available. We've seen Rek'Sai top and Rek'Sai jungle on the winning side already twice today. The most obvious strong jungler available is Rek'Sai, though Sejuani, always a consideration.
Yep, Sej very good. There's plenty of strong junglers, lots of top laners that people like to first pick as well. Nars available, Flandre is great on that champion. Long, I'm sure, has practice on it as well, but I agree with you. I think Rek'Sai's the perfect first pick, and that's what they take away.
So flexible as a champion, it turns out even in terms of roles at this position, you go Warrior for impressive early game damage, though it feels like Syndicate, you do comparable damage, of course, have true damage with enough autos on your E as well. So just such a flexible first pick, and it has the opportunity for so much early mid-game ganking pressure that was used expertly in the previous series.
Yeah, you can see Amy having a bit of fun here, flicking through a bunch of different champions, but Limited Potential, not too much longer now to decide on their first few champions. 10 seconds left. That'll be a good start if they want it. This was a big thing. I believe King actually started late in the spring season as well. The Nar Sejuani for massive setup CC coming through, and that's what they are going to take away here.
I mean, look, it's 2 powerful picks. Nara in particular doesn't really have any bad matchups. You can pick Maokai and try and play around the fact that the laning phase is punishing, but not necessarily a lot of kill pressure for the Nara. It's not going to be Nara Hecarim that was the disaster that happened in the previous game. So they're going to be flexible, and Flandre always has something ready. But giving up Nar Sejuani, not ideal, because as you mentioned, we can see permanent CC bars for 4 or 5 seconds in a team fight.
Yeah, just, I mean, the sickest thing is you don't even need a wall when you have Nar Sejuani, because you can just Nar them forward and have Sejuani time her ultimate. But Snake do pick their next few champions, and Crystal, he clearly has been training here. Thresh for Ella, that's definitely a 100% Ella champion. Looks great on a bit. Sivir, I don't remember a single Sivir game from Crystal last season.
Let me tell you, Sivir is not a Crystal champion. He never picked this champion. I believe he might have played it once or twice, but my memory, my first response is that he's never played it. It certainly doesn't fit into his champion pool. That was the likes of the Draven and the Draven and the Kalista. I almost said the Crystal because he plays it so much, but Kalista banned away, goes for the Sejuani, goes for the Sivir, so picking for comp is something we almost never see. It was Snake having to pick around Crystal to set up a hyper carry. Suddenly, it's not going to have to be a last rotation AD carry because they're happy to go into Sivir.
Yeah, they are. And the Jinx counter pick here might hurt Crystal just a bit here, but Jinx Alistar the pickup here for UP, and I can't imagine we're not going to be seeing more of this particular combination. Alistar in particular might just be the breakout of the last few weeks as we move into week 1 of the LPL. Could be there as well. Plenty of options still here for Snake.
Baby.
I'm never questioning the drafts. I would just let it happen.
Cassiopeia top, though. We already saw Huni do great work in this matchup. It's a very good laning matchup that can be preyed upon, so it's risky to pick into it. I don't like the LeBlanc here, Pastry Time. I really don't like the LeBlanc, because you look on the other side, you're not going to be bursting down Sejuani or Alistar. But going for the laning matchup, a very strong laning champion in LeBlanc, but the advent of Alistar should signal the death of LeBlanc as an early pick, so actually to pick it reactively, super surprised.
Yeah, you have to pick on Jinx, and that's difficult to do potentially with that CC, but I love this pick from Flandre. You mentioned Nara has no bad matchups in the common top lane pool. Aurelia may be the only one left, and Flandre, I believe he played one Aurelia game last season, but it was a memorable one.
It was his first game of the season, also Pastry Time, where he was teleporting around. We gave him the Time Lord nickname, just from his excellent use of teleport and being around the map. It's worth noting that this matchup for Aurelia isn't necessarily as good as it used to be. We saw in the LCK finals, of course, there was Smeb trying to play Aurelia into Nara multiple times and losing the matchup. So it's definitely not auto-win. It feels like Black Cleaver might walk the matchup even more. So I think it's risky. On paper and previously, historically, it's been a great matchup for Aurelia, but it's not Cassiopeia when it comes to matchups.
No, and I at least like the pick for draft, as we are going to see the coaches shake hands, I believe, and make their way out, just because they needed to give Flandre more of a carry champion, right? They have Crystal on the Sivir for the first time since I can remember, which is never, as far as I'm remembering here. But Aurelia's another, semi-carry or carry-like champion that you can bring from the top lane, because they needed more carry potential. And Flandre, can he hard carry once more? It's been a while, but he's known to do it versus Longsnar.
All our notes were talking about the top lane carry Flandre with the top lane Fizz and all these other carries. Never got the opportunity after game 1. Aurelia's as close as he's been when it comes to carry champions. You're right, he's empowered to carry it because LeBlanc's going to have some burst. We already mentioned the fact that the laning matchup and in general the target selection, it's Jinx or nothing for the LeBlanc. So Aurelia's going to have to do a lot of work with that on the hunt from Sivir.
And that's the biggest change. Crystal playing Sivir is a bit crazy. Ella back on Threshold, and Hart going to have his first game of the LPL on Alistar. Fine champion here in this current metagame.
I'm just super excited to see what does a Snake comp where Crystal's not on a hyper carry look like, and how does this interact with all the hype around Martin, their other AD carry? We thought that he would come in when they needed a Sivir player, when they needed a Jinx player. If they both have similar champion pools, will there still be strategic value into running one or the other? I guess you don't necessarily want to have an only hyper carry and only team fighting or team supporting AD carry player, because then maybe you're just tipping your hands based on who you pick. The strategic diversity, not what we expected in the AD carry role, but it's coming through from Snake finally, one split later. Yeah,
maybe they just brought Martin on to train Crystal Sivir.
This is how you wave clear.
This is very different stuff coming through for Snake, but you're right. Beast going to have to step a bit more. Flandre going to have to play a bit more carry-like, and it's a shift in philosophy that we didn't see in Snake. We'll see if they can do it. We're about to get into our first game. We are back into the Rift, and there's trouble in Paradise. Hart being caught out there as Snake aggressively 5-stack for an invade there. Take out the Trinket Ward, and Hart, he's forced to flash away.
Yeah, that's a flash down on Alistar. Suddenly you don't have level 2 cheese all-in potential. Suddenly you're a melee champion in a 1v2 or in a 2v2 that can be preyed upon. You're not that tanky on Alistar till you get that Unbreakable Will. It's going to have to really play it conservatively, and Alistar, not the best level 1 champion, now going to be basically a walking ward.
And I like this adaptation. If that's the case, UP's dual lane immediately leave the bottom side of the map, and they're going to start a lane swap. It's a bit late, but they'll get there.
Yeah, they'll get there. The freeze, though, will it be on? That's the question. Can they get there fast enough to get any sort of freeze on? There's 4 members towards the top. They're looking for a late invade.
Yeah, that actually might catch Flandre here, who's moving through up towards what he thinks is his 1v1 matchup, but Beast going to start down on the Krogs. Ella and Crystal actually not going to get some experience, just going to help their jungler out. Flandre, with a good bit of pathing, does spot them off with a ward, and we're going to isolate the mid lane as you in his first game for Snake here in the mid lane. Going to be LeBlanc versus Kassadin.
This is more of the you that didn't really get to be shown. It's unshackled you to some degree. Getting to play those assassins that Edward Gaming just never fit into their comps. He actually took chains at level 1.
That skill shot was ridiculous. Yeah, that would make sense, but that was a pretty pinpoint skill shot, you again. 9 more for the Orianna Ziggs back in the days on Edward Gaming, but still on point with his assassins.
And you smartly picked up the the Flask. I've seen a lot of LeBlanc players in this matchup, for whatever reason, try to opt into the Doran Ring and then just find the fact that they just can't deal with the guaranteed targeted poke coming through from the Null Sphere. You need to go for this regen heavy build, and it'll just weather the fact that when it comes to just pointing Qs at each other, Cassidy does better than LeBlanc in that matchup if you're on point.
Yeah, and Punish sort of for the same reason. LeBlanc's expected to try and bully you out here. So Flask, I've seen Pawn do it a lot, actually. He loves that item. So I like that both these mid laners are just taking a little bit of a page out of a decent mid laner's book there.
I just love the Q chicken that comes up because Cassidy wants to preemptively get it so he gets the shield. So LeBlanc will just often cancel an auto, feign a spell, and then just go back to autoing and try and get those guaranteed damage trades. And so a lot of mind games in the mid lane.
Yeah, some good stuff there. You a slight CS lead, but nothing massive, as Crystal and Ella certainly learned how to wave clear in the off-season, as they are already onto this turret at 3.5 minutes.
I like the adaptation of Fast Push. Fast Push was never the name of the game for Snake just because they were normally the hyper carry with minimal wave pushing. They're fast pushing and they're going for a jungle blue steal as well at the same time. So good pathing from Flandre and Beats. They're continuing this jungle follow, and they'll cause a reaction, you'd have to think, from the unlimited potential top lane, start pushing themselves.
Good deep ward in the lane as well. They're actually proxying basically as crystals between the turrets as well. Ella even gets a second ward just to spot them coming through, and the blue away. They're going to get this turret quite quickly, and Scatch on the Jinx shouldn't be too bad as far as fast pushes go, but I love the setup here for Snake.
Well, the big question is they're either going to take the turret or they're going to force a reaction, force a rotation to come through from unlimited potential. They'll be happy that they're in 2v2 against a melee champion without flash and the Nara in this situation, who will spend at least part of the lane in melee form himself. Snake are dictating this early game, and that's what they're looking to do with the Sivir pick and with their early rotation.
And that's where they look best. Yes, they team fight very well, and they go to late game nicely, but getting there when they're, a bit behind, that's the times when Snake really fall behind in their game. So getting off on the right foot early, I like the aggression coming through in the early stages, and you actually battling nicely, but Punish handles that trade excellently.
Again, he got the Q in at the right time, so he's able to negate a lot of the damage coming through. I agree. It's amazing in how many levels this is reminiscent of the first series that Snake played in the LPL spring. It was all about the Aurelia coming through from Flandre and his carry performance. It was all about Beast dictating to the enemy jungler and getting in their face. I believe he won the Nunu versus Java matchup, then won the reverse matchup. If that's what they're looking to do, the fast push, they're already getting the game on their terms. This is the Snake that was severely lacking towards the end of the split.
And Flandre actually still picking up a decent amount of levels here, and 10 CS to 8's not too shabby either. I don't know how unhealthy the turret in the top lane is, but if Flandre's come up here with his teleport to defend early on, that's a big win once again in yet another lane for Snake.
And Alice has been walking around. He hasn't been able to just headbutt Aurelia when she goes for an auto attack. He's been forced to play defensively because, hey, he didn't have flash, and then he had to defend Nara in the bottom lane. Leaves bottom lane. Nara, you can see on your mini-maps, not going to get near those minions anytime soon. And Snake are doing all the dictating to this LSPL team.
Punish, though, going in. That's going to force you away here, actually, as he moves his Mimic back down. Little low, doesn't have any charges of his Crystal and Flask left, though, as Amy going to find Beast. This is the aggression we expected. Level 3 to level 4, and Sejuani goes straight in.
So the kit definitely doesn't support the level 3 versus 4 smashing. We saw this exact matchup come through in the previous series between Cacao and Spirit, but if you just surprise people with aggression, this is what happens.
Flandre going to try and get out of this gank as well. Good read there and some nice wards from Snake, meaning Aurelia is safe at the turret. Looking to fall here potentially. Long did use his teleport.
He needed to get out of the bottom lane. He wasn't getting any experience, so it was just a let's hopefully get a turret or kill out of this. I can't stay bottom.
No, Beast comes into the mid lane there as well. Just going to take some farm away, but Punish level 6.
No mana.
Yeah, no mana unfortunately there for the extra roof walks, but winning so far, 42 CS to 34 as Yu goes back. Double Dorans here. The Pawn special coming through, but potentially a little bit, it's starting to struggle in the matchup now.
It's just really curious that he picked into this matchup. Turret goes down and bottom. No need to show that, but this is a difficult, it was a difficult team for LeBlanc to burst down, and there was counter pick available, so it's going to be, at best, a skill matchup in the mid lane. It's just very curious for you, a player more associated with his wave clear champs, to not just go for wave clear this time.
See some love there for Heart as well as you. Trying to pick on Punish, but doesn't quite get the kill. Actually just missed a skill shot in and amongst the minion wave coming back. So almost got himself first blood, but couldn't quite finish it. Towers have fallen in the bottom and the top sides of the map as well, so it's one apiece there. And as you look to maybe an early dragon between these two teams as well, everyone just sort of farming up as best they can.
Now both Crystal and Ella are going to back. Of course, Crystal hasn't bought yet, so there is a small window where it's going to be an unanswered Dragon. Yu's actually healthy in the mid lane. They could have rushed down Dragon here if you were unlimited potential. and got it below half health before anyone would have even been in the area to react. But because Amy's low and no mana, they can't answer with a dragon, so that small window evaporates quickly.
I was about to bring up the AD carry matchups as well. We've seen Jinx Sivir a lot, and it was really a matchup that kind of through the course of the last season, Jinx really just started winning. BF Sword back for Scatch is great, but I love what Crystal's done here. He's got his BF Sword, but just in case, he's got a Brawler's Glove as well.
He's ready to fight phase 2 time. He wants the Avarice Blade for a bit more income. Crystal's still going to want a lot of gold, even though he's playing the Sivir. Might not always be useful, but it's going to be fine in this particular situation. I think the one thing I'll say here, in general, about Crystal on this Sivir is it's going to be very intriguing to see how this game goes on, how they play around it. Will they be able to be that assertive team without necessarily the Maokai to force fights? Aurelia can do a similar job, just not quite Maokai in terms of reliability.
You see just a bit of trading in the mid lane there, as well as Scatch actually rotating in. No one getting too low here as Alistar trying to find a kill, but level 6 up for the Jinx now. Beast is actually going to rotate in as well just to try and fend off some of the creeps in the mid side, but Flandre walked down just in case. He's got his teleport and some Ninja Tabe as well. Will return to the top side, be just fine, and all the while now Crystal's getting free farm in the bottom lane.
See a lot of ranged harass coming through, not a lot of wave clear on Snake's side if Crystal isn't in the same lane as the multiple stack coming through. So if UP can get aggressive wards and rotate around the Sivir, the only wave clear they have to worry about realistically is going to be the ultimate coming through from Flandre. So in a 4-1 situation, they're going to happily keep this push on. They've got the ultimate available from Amy, so if they want to dive, they have the option.
It's just a matter of if Snake think they can hold this with just 3 people, they get so much extra farm onto Crystal. So it's a bit dangerous potentially. That turret's sitting at about 60% health now in the mid lane, but Flandre's controlling the wave up top, letting Long push back into him, trying to keep the wave in a good spot, and Crystal doing the same here. Snake, I will say this about them. They wave control very well, but they are almost never in a hurry.
I'll say that they were savvy in this particular point because of one specific thing. In that scenario, when we're looking for the turret dive, Lungda.
Oh, that hop did not go far enough. Chain goes down. Flandre turns it in. The ultimate down as well. Not enough there, and Yu claims first blood.
Yeah, mechanical misplay. The bounce not going over the wall. He needed to be a bit more steadfast. Of course, playing on this big stadium with the fans, probably going to be a bit of nerves here as Long, and he's been punished.
He has. I mean, Flandre, a player that can punish you. We said it doesn't happen often, but on a champion like Aurelia, look for Flandre to once again take over his first game of an LPL.
And I'll return to the standoff we saw under turret where they were able to let Sivir farm on the side. If that Alistar was level 6, it wouldn't have been the same situation because Alistar could have taken turret aggro, dived with the Unbreakable Will, and they could have looked for a turret dive with the tanky Alistar and the tanky Sejuani. So because he was level 4, you could go for a cheeky move like that, but it's too arrogant to do that if Alistar has level 6 available.
Smart stuff from Snake there. I do agree with you as UP going to get on top of this dragon now. Amy level 6, Punish level 7, Alistar not quite there yet, but Rek'Sai used the ulti already back towards the Wolf camp though, and that should be a first dragon coming through for unlimited potential. Yu is going to check it out. Will get a Trinket Wall for his trouble. Dives right in, sees the dragon and says, uh-oh, it's already dead.
Snake had a lot of wards in the area. They should have known it was happening, didn't respect it. Sivir kept pushing in the mid lane, wasn't able to take a turret and answer, so feels like in a lot of ways UP stole away that first dragon.
I think so too, and Crystal has got his Avarice Blade now, so you know maybe just wanted a bit of extra fun, getting greedy there as well. But
that doesn't sound like this.
Are you sure? As Yu does flash away. Good ulti there from Amy. Nails Crystal, and Ella. Dolty coming through. Does land in. Crystal spell shields, but actually didn't need to. Snake will get away there. With that push in the mid lane, they will not get the trade for Dragon.
And look, they've rotated sideways, so you can see Jinx is picking up free farm, but Aurelia crucially is actually growing a lead over Nah. Those matchups in the LCK finals, Smeb was definitely not in a CS advantage. He never had an item advantage when he tried to duel the Nah. In an equal scenario, it feels like the matchup is moving slowly towards Nah. If he can get a CS lead, though, everything changes.
Yeah, you can see a couple of Snake fans there as well. And the big glowing blue Flandre sign. Mid turret does go down. And I think Flandre does deserve some credit. We haven't seen this from him for so long, but Flandre, for all his mechanical brilliance, is such a smart player as well. He has been holding this wave in top lane for multiple minutes, and Long just has no answer right now.
And the big question is, with a lane swap this game compared to the previous series, can you still go for a slow Black Cleaver, a 22, 25-minute Black Cleaver? Does that still have the same oomph if turrets are down? If rotational and team fight is more important than a 1v1, you might find that it's just not a realistic build path. He's already got the Ruby Crystal and the longsword. So still, a Phage might be the call, but going for a slow Black Cleaver doesn't sound as appetizing as the, Black Cleaver Frozen Mallet action we saw from Zatai.
No, and I don't know what you'd rather have, a freezing Aurelia farming or a freezing Jinx, but both of these teams now have big threats in their side lanes that have those turrets down, deep freezing in strong areas and getting that farm up. So look at the 15-20 minute mark with both Aurelia and Jinx on their respective teams are going to look to fight because they will have some good items as Flandre finally breaks his freeze.
I mean, with this smart warding, I think it's fine to trade if you're Snake. In most scenarios, if the warding was towards the advantage of UP or equal, I think you'd probably take the Jinx picking up the farm just because he's got such a strong tank wall, and it's so hard for LeBlanc to assassinate him that he should be fine in most fights. But with Sivir Aurelia and Aurelia getting farmed in this particular situation, given the fact that they've been more on point with their wards, they can out-rotate and get Aurelia into the backline somehow, they're going to be very happy.
Yeah, Beast saw them as well. Flandre is going to come in. That Tremor sends a huge boon there. The hook does come through, but a flash will keep Heart safe here. Sketch is here as well. Long, almost in the Mega Gnar form as well, but LeBlanc's here first. Cassidy roof walking as best he can as Snake. They really want this top turret.
Yeah, actually Cassidy's just not rotating at all. It looked like he would move towards, but he's just picking up farm. The freezing for farm has been a big con. Luke's going aggressive.
Crystal actually forced to use his ultimate as Long comes in. Good spell shield's going to keep him safe from the slow as well. Waited until it came out there as Beast getting a bit of harassment now, keeping some vision as unburrowed as he can. And Flandre actually in the mid lane now going to push it out as you collects the free farm in the bottom side.
4-man stacks across the map and then just rotating over to pick up farm. A lot of rotations for farm. No big objective advantages, but Snake 2 turrets to 1. That's something to talk about.
I mean, that 1 kill on the 2 turrets are great, but look at all the gold that Snake have just from the rotations farm. It's been a lot of 4 stacks, but Snake are the first ones to break away and give themselves empty land farm. If UP don't get this, that's trouble, but an ulti lands in for Amy. Massive knock up there for Hart. Jinx ulti in as well. Beast almost dies, but Crystal will get headbutted in and go down. Long's going to chase in onto Beast. That's going to be a kill there as well. Flandre dives in, tries to get a kill, does get one, I believe, as they answer back with Hart going down, but the hook not quite there. And Snake, they save their turret in a 2-for-1 trade.
And 6 minutes later, what I talked about before comes true. You cannot have these standups when Alistar hits level 6 because he can tank turret for days. They have the aggressive ultimate with the Glacial Prison coming through from Sejuani. That's why the dive went well. It was a good trade coming through from UP, and that's the flexibility that a support like Alistar uniquely brings.
Yeah, you can see you going to return to that lane, but UP starting to pick up steam as well. The next Dragon going to be crucial for these teams as well as unlimited potential already with their first, and you can see Dragon back up in about a minute 55 as Flandre still needing some farm, but Jinx goes back. Pickaxe now as well. Rod of Ages done for Punished as well, and that gold's starting to stack up here.
And that's the thing. Going for a more focused build from Punish has actually meant that he has a Rod of Ages to answer Merlinomicon. So with that extra heal, with of course a couple of points in the Null Sphere, is going to happily be able to just trade with LeBlanc. There's never going to be a scenario where LeBlanc really has significant kill pressure onto Punish. You can see, even with a couple of spell rotations, we're not going to see half health. We're just going to see good chip damage coming through from you.
Yeah, great skill shots here from you to get the damage in, but Punished just shaking it off right now. Crystal and Flask, even with some charges left as well as Long, going to clear out a big stack in the bottom wave. And pretty funny to see a fast push game with this happen, but I guess it makes sense. These are some deep freezes in the side lanes.
Hey, Lung smartly has moved away. He started, of course, with a Ruby Crystal Longsword, just turned it into a Giant Spell, going to go straight for the team fight build. He recognized the fact that Snake are not interested at any point in having a scenario where Gnar is going to be free hitting the Aurelia. They're just going to look for team fights in this particular case. So he has to go for the team fight build, despite the fact that that lets Flandre go for the Trinity Force like he wants to.
It's one of those things that's almost a hidden trait of how well Black Cleaver builds, is because if you go for those Ruby Crystals and need to audible, you can do that very easily.
Ruby Crystal building into Giants, that was such a massive change, because now you can just build Ruby Crystal and have so many flexible options. You add Black Cleaver now, it's Giant Spell, Kindle Gem, Phage, all excellent Ruby Crystal options. So Ruby Crystal starts even on the likes of the Haunting Guys for Rumble. It's such a flexible item. We're going to see only more health coming through, especially when Cinderhawk's
You can see Beast, though, hanging out in the jungle, trying to get some camps down, but does not counter jungle away. Actually, no Smite's going to make that a bit tricky, but good deep wards, actually a trio of them just in a diagonal moving through a Snake. They want aggressive control of this dragon here. Even going to get Lantern in for the Scuttle Crab as well. Snake, they know they have to arrest control of this objective.
And their aggressive pink wards around the dragon compared to the defensive pink wards coming through from unlimited potential across the map should mean that Dragon is just just not something that Unlimited Potential are looking to be able to fight at this point.
Interestingly, Sketch went for a Zeal there with some Berserker Greaves, so maybe wanted a bit more pushing power, wants to transition a bit smoother, but he's going to be fairly close to Crystal as far as teamfight damage goes, where I think it has Infinity Edge, it exceed him in that situation.
It's one of those situations, unfortunately, that with the lowering of the crit chance on Infinity Edge, you might actually have more reliable power coming through with the Zeal, and it also gives you that movement speed to be able to stay away from those skill shots and continue fighting in the backline. With Zeal and Boots too, there should be no way for LeBlanc to close the distance onto Jinx.
Well, we'll see if you can get it done. He's level 10 so far with the Blasting one added in as well. Probably going for a Death Cap as his second item as UP just group up and push you off the creep wave once again. He's actually ahead in CS, but trying to poke in on to punish is a rather futile endeavor now.
And look, they've got the split push happening with Aurelia once again. Doesn't look like Na is going to try to match it, at least at this present point. Teleport not up for Flandre at the moment, whereas Lung does have teleport, but no players around the map to really contest the fight.
Flandre just going to have it soon, but he's pushing that wave in, and again, there are so many wards on the right-hand side of the map here for Snake. There's 4 in a row in a nice, neat diagonal, playing Connect 4 almost to Snake there on the mini-map. Is Flandre going to go back? Does he have enough for the Trinity Force? That's a big question, and I think he might just have enough. Is backing now? No, just a dagger instead.
But in general, he's dodged the 1v1 matchup against Na until he's finished the Trinity Force, and because of all the rotations, the fact that Lung was so frustrated under having to teleport just to try and help push with his team, Lung's gone for a team fight build. So it doesn't have the Aurelia crushing items like Black Cleaver, and Aurelia's just gone for a standard build. So he's been forced into a team fighting build, and now when he finally gets the 1v1 matchup he's been looking for, he doesn't have the items to necessarily take it. So it feels like the first 18 minutes have contrived to set up Flandre to carry, which, it's good times for Snake.
It is indeed, and I think cleverly Snake are just delaying for this next dragon. They don't want to fight for it because they're waiting on, I assume, the Trinity Force from Flandre. Crystal does have an Infinity Edge to pair with the Avarice Blade, so quite a bit stronger now. Some of that early greed with the Avarice Blade paying off now, but Flandre still farming up, needs a bit more gold to get there. Crystal doing the same, wants to get his Berserker possibly as he moves in, and Snake just playing calm here, knowing that, you know what, if you're not going to go for the objective, we're just going to leave it.
The big power jump is 200 gold away from Sketch. That'll finish the Infinity Edge. That will be when he's going to be able to be comparable in terms of items and really start going for these trades. He needs to be strong because he has a strong front line, but not a lot of damage, especially early from the likes of Cassid and Na.
Yeah, you almost caught out there, but does look for a chain. Doesn't quite get it onto hard as Sketch. Caught him almost with a zap as well, but UP trying to get some control back. They've got good defensive pink wards to clear out all of the wards that Snake had placed in there earlier, but Flandre going back does now have his Trinity Force. The teleport's up. This is Flandre's favorite part of the game.
Item time is coming. You spots out the fact that Jinx is back, and he's going to go for the assassination.
Oh, nice stuff here. Just going to delay the back. If nothing else, the Chompers just saving Skatcha's life, but that may just give over the dragon.
And actually, the extra movement speed from Zeal saved him because he was like the first person I've ever seen be able to walk out of the chain, even after Flash. Had just enough movement speed to get away, but it's free dragon for Snake.
Good block of the ulti there by Element Crystal as well, and that dragon does indeed go over to Snake. So Scat goes back, now has the Infinity Edge, so quite strong, but it's a little late for that team fight, unfortunately.
Doesn't have Flash as well. Now there's a small window where if you keep this ward advantage that Snake have been able to cultivate, you get that pick onto Sketch, UP's team fight falls apart. He needs to be safe. In late game team fights, he should be safe just from how strong the front line is, and the fact that there's no other targets for LeBlanc to select means that her movements in a team fight should be pretty predictable. But in this situation, until they can equalize the warding, things are still pretty good for you.
Yeah, Flandre actually equalizing points in his W and E as well, so I like that, splitting the difference. Equilibrium Strike, like you've mentioned, has had that change. So it's not nearly as good as it used to be, but he knows he does need to get aggressive, and I think he can start to pressure Long in the matchup now.
I'm surprised he's feeling confident enough to put more points in W. One of the reasons Emax became a thing is that with all the gap closers coming through in the league, with these champions that have mobility, you just weren't getting 5-6 autos with the true damage coming through from the hit 10 style. So you go in for the guaranteed damage on E for CC and for just the burst. With the burst moved away, the CC is still more reliable, and against Anara of all things, you don't expect to be getting a lot of auto attacks in as Aurelia, but clearly he's going for the situation where if he gets onto that Jinx, it's going to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, Flandre knows that he kind of has one job to do, and I think Scat trying to bait him here as we've got Hart and Amy, at least for a while, we're up here on the top side, but Flandre not going to take the bait. Hart actually walks over a couple of wards. They couldn't quite sweep them out in that tri-bush just to the right, and Scat will keep getting farmed. Flandre again will dodge a lane now, actually looking for now, I think, because he's confident farming in the 1v1.
Looking for Na could be the mini movie title of this game. Everyone's been dodging lanes like it's going out of fashion. We haven't seen the 1v1s that we always crave when we see big laning matchups. But again, everyone's been dodging the people picking up items. There's definitely identities. We've got team fighting Gnar versus split push and just core items coming through from Aurelia. So one of the facts is that Gnar's been forced to build more for team fights than for splitting. But I mean, Cassidy, he's pretty happy because in all of this, he hasn't been killed, he's been farming, and 10-stack Rod of Ages is not far away.
No, and Hart actually a bit caught out of position, was forced to use his ultimate there, got to about 50% health, and Crystal's now on the bottom side trying to get that pesky funnel outer turret out as well. So again, Snake, they've been doing a lot of rotating. Punished eats a massive amount of damage there as well as Yu comes into the bottom line, and it's been pretty slow and steady for Snake, but Flandre going to start to turn it on. Lung activates his Randuins, but tries to get away, will hop to safety, but you can see some of these matchups are starting to turn.
Absolutely. With the Randuins, just doesn't have any counter damage. He's not able to auto attack with the Aurelia. He isn't the Gnar that we saw in the LCK finals. He's just not able to deal with Aurelia. And we get back to that 5.2 meta where Aurelia can smash Gnar in scenarios like this.
Not the Gnar we saw in the last series with Frozen Heart. Black Cleaver either is hot. We'll get caught by L in the box actually coming through. Teleports coming through for both. As Flandre diving in aggressive. Does get the kill. Long here a little too late, and Snake, they're just going to take the turret and run.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have ultimate on the Alistar. Well communicated once again in terms of timings. Should be a turret going down uncontested. It's in the mid lane, actually. We see a kill.
Yeah, Punish. Nice 1v1 there. Finally getting a handle on the matchup here. Got the cooldown boots. Codex up there as well. Fully stacked Rod of Ages, or almost there, you have to think as well. So Punish, we've talked about it. He's been on the back foot for the last bits of the matchup, but starting to get ahead now.
It must have just been an overstay, given that he has such a healthy health bar. Of course, he's used the flash of Flash with what maybe surprised you, but that's a big kill to come through as the 10-stack Rod of Ages is only a minute away from completion.
Yeah, Rabadon's done now for you as well. So power spikes coming through for both of the mid laners. Flandre pops his head into the mid lane for a couple of CS, but going to revisit the top side. And 3 for 1 now in turrets, equal in kills and dragons though for Snake, but all the extra farm they've gotten, the extra turret they've gotten as well. And we look at 24 minutes, 3,000 gold ahead for Snake.
And that's probably the minimum when you have the likes of Rek'Sai LeBlanc, so a very strong mid lane duo. You've got the Sivir also for mobilizing the troops and getting those favorable fights around Dragon. The fact that they haven't got 2-0 in terms of Dragon kills is probably the big factor here for UP. They've actually played this early game quite well given the comps that have been taken, because in the late game, we're expecting Cassidy to come up big.
Yeah, you can see Yu actually does get the counter kill, so Punish there after getting 1v1. We're able to take it out there. And, you know, lots of trading kills back and forth. But honestly, Snake, they're playing a very controlled style that I didn't expect from them.
The trading kills, that's fine for unlimited potential. They have the likes of Cassidy and Jinx who will come up big in the late game. But you're right, they're chipping away at turrets. They've got the turret advantage. They're picking up CS. And specifically, they've engineered this situation where Aurelia is over just brutalizing down a Gnar in a split push. We did not expect this to be the case, given how the meta's evolved in recent events. But given those two factors, Snake are going to be quite happy with their early game. The fact that they haven't monopolized dragons, it's a problem, but it's one that can be solved.
Yeah, and it's nice to see, you know, Snake is so used to giving farm to a player. It's Crystal, classically, of course, that they just funnel gold into to the point where they can carry. But, you know, they're mixing it up. They're very good at finding farm and controlling waves. And instead of Crystal, it's Flandre that's getting it. And you can see Frozen Heart now done. Trinity Force completed there as well. Flandre is a beast at 25 minutes.
I mean, my only worry about this shifting game plan is that it worked pretty damn well for Snake for a long time. So I don't know if this necessarily needs to be the rule, but having this in your playbook is a massive thing for Snake, because suddenly you can't solve Snake like we felt you could when, say, Jarvan, Nunu, and Xerath were banned back in the first week. You thought, okay, Snake's got no other strings to their playbook, they're done. If they're showing this style, they don't have to play it every game, but knowing that it's possible, knowing that Crystal plays Sivir, okay, he always had the mechanics to play Sivir, of course, but the fact that he's confident enough to take it into competitive, they have game plans around it, that's a big win for Snake.
You can see you looking for a kill, but not going to find it again. Alistar with his ult up. Pretty tricky for LeBlanc to kill, so we'll see if that starts hurting you as he's continually looking for picks. Dragon is back up, and that's probably the next big tension point of this game. Crystal coming back and got a pickaxe now to join in the Infinity Edge and the Static Shift Beast. With those wards and the Tremor Sense, going to be able to spot them away. And we already talked about Flandre real strong at this stage, so we have to expect that people are going to rotate to that Dragon, and we'll see who gets that first big teamfight win.
With the Frozen Heart, critically with the cooldown reduction, potentially 2 Equilibrium Strikes coming the way of Sketch, going to have so much dive potential. And just the armor stacking, of course, going to work so well. Sketch actually forced into Home Guard boots, delays the power spike of the Phantom Dancer, let alone delays the fact that he's going to need that Last Whisper before too long. No lifesteal on this build either. Sketch is looking a tasty proposition for Flandre to die.
And I think the craziest thing is Crystal's super early Avarice Blade, and Lava finally managed to find it. He actually has 3 items already at 26 minutes. He has a last Whisper that he just got back and picked up there. So Snake, if they want to fight, they have all the strength to do so now.
You just have to feel like UP have to continue giving things up. Will they ever reach a point where they're actually able to contest? That's the big question mark. And that's kind of the issue that Casten Comps have, is doesn't offer wave clear. He can fight eventually, but if you've lost 4 dragons, or if you've lost a Baron, or if all your turrets are down, fighting only does so much.
Yep, second dragon they're going through is you did not steal that blue buff, unfortunately. He's going to look for long here, but he's got a couple bits of damage down as Snake going to rotate in, try and take some tier 2 turrets now. You can see the top side. Big minion wave pushing there. Even Ella's actually going to rotate in and get some wards down. And Crystal has to be a bit careful. Does have his spell shield and ultimate available, but Snake again, side wave control, objective control, doing everything correctly so far.
And I think the difference between, say, Sivir Cassidy and Jinx Cassidy comes through in games like this. If you don't have a backup wave clear option, you just get pushed in, and Snake have all the opportunities to rotate, especially with the on the hunt.
Yeah, tower gonna go down. Crystal, great spell shield to keep him safe. Heart getting aggressive, trying to find an initiation, but almost dies as a result. You gonna dive his way back in, gets the ignite down, really wants to take him out. Crystal takes up some hits to take the turret, and Heart lives, but his tier 2 mid lane turret will not.
Yeah, Heart's Desperation Engage didn't work, but his exhaust was super on point onto the LeBlanc. Keeps him alive, but 1 kill's not going to even be worth a consideration as 2 turrets fall instantly.
Crystal with the rotation's going to take out some turrets here. That's 2 tier 2s down in a matter of seconds here for Snake, and they're starting to build up a pretty obscene gold lead. 7,000 gold ahead now.
Again, it's just massive for Snake as a team. Anyone who's watched the LPL Spring understands how important it is that Snake has shown they can play this rotational style, the fast push, move around with the likes of Crystal on Sivir of all champions. Champion pick diversity is one of the reasons why Edward Gaming is one of the best teams in the world. We know about their Protect the Jinx, Nunu Jinx comps. We know about the fact that they can play pick comps with the likes of Corki. Suddenly Snake adding that extra notch to their belt makes them an even more terrifying proposition.
I agree. And for context, Snake, we talked about it, finished second in the regular season, 4th in playoffs overall after some pretty nerve-wracking semifinals. They effectively brute forced their way with basically 1.5 strategies to the second place in the LPL. So you're right, mixing it up here is a big deal on so many levels for this team, as unfortunately they do lose their mid turret to UP.
Yeah, I mean, they had to give up something at some point, but 5 turrets to 2, 2 dragons to 1, it's all working out for Snake. And again, it's reminiscent of game 1 between W and IG, and the fact that because there's so low wave clear on unlimited potential, even though they have some really excellent late game team fighting, we've all seen those massive burst damages coming through from the likes of Nas Sejuani in terms of CC and damage coming through. They ever misplay a fight, they're going to lose their base.
He's pretty sneaky. They're actually taking quite a bit of damage from Long. Lantern comes out though. The wallop did miss. Heart gets knocked up as well. He's trying to come in. Crystal might have to use his ulti. Ella does use his as punish. Coming back in now as well. He's fairly tanky on the Cassidy, but no one else here means that Snake disengage and keep split pushing.
And the communication is very on point from Snake. You can see Flandre not nonplussed about this whole situation, just split pushing in the bottom lane, nothing to worry about whatsoever, getting stronger and stronger on that Aurelia. And Lung's not really fancying the split push at this point.
A good back cancel there as well from Beast. Delays Scatch for a little while longer. Flandre still pushing. Going to take him a while to get to that inhibitor turret, but minions in the mid lane already there as well. Crystal's actually going to find his way into a potential 1v1 here as Flandre keeps pushing in. Long does survive the onslaught, but Flandre, he is not stopping.
And Scatch does not want to walk up to Flandre. Don't let the auto attack crits that deceive you. With the Frozen Heart, definitely has dive potential and kill potential onto Scatch, who has flash up, but that's all he has going.
Cook there does land. Long actually now in Mega Gnar form does have his ulti and the flash to line up if he wants to, but Snake disengage wonderfully. Crystal with the spell shield just poking back and forth. He's got a Vampiric Scepter now as well, just to make matters worse. Another hook lands onto Amy, just more poke coming through, and Snake, they'll take their time, but slowly but surely they're going to get these turrets.
And this is just from just pure brute force itemization. Remember, so much spent on boots the Scatch have. Obviously don't offer him too much in terms of combat stats outside the attack speed on the Berserker Greaves. The early home guard is really hamstrung his build compared to just pure item efficiency coming through from Crystal.
And I really like how Snake have used LeBlanc specifically in this team comp. We already know that Flandre wants to do a lot of split pushing. He'll join a fight if he has an advantage, but especially against Nas Sejuani, not a proposition you want to opt into. Alistar as well, actually. They're kind of using you as a mobile mage because they can either get picks when they move through the jungle or push up minion waves with him. It's really smart usage, just running UP around the map.
Yeah, if you know he doesn't have kill pressure on Cassidy's, he's making Cassidy play accountably. That's the big thing. There's never been a Cassidy roam that Pawn, for example, was so famous for on EDG. Even though his burst trades are doing, what, 40% of the life of the Cassidy, he picks up blue buffs, uses whole mana bar to just keep Cassidy under control. They've taken his turret away, and even though he's not picking up kills, the pressure that it's causing in the mid lane has allowed these mismatches from the likes of Aurelia versus Gnar, and just Sivir and Crystal to pick up a mountain of CS.
And Crystal is power farming in this game. 329 CS at 32 minutes, excuse me. BF Sword now added in for a Bloodthirster coming up now as well. Sketch finally gets his last Whisper completed as well, so does have 3 items for Jinx. I think a Vampiric Scepter away from a really strong jumping off point for this hyper carry, but Void stuff done for you. Flandre getting stronger with a Randuin as well. He knows he has one job, and that's dive people under turrets. As Crystal will get aggressed on there by Long. Mega now comes through. Ulti comes in. Good flash ult there from Long. Heart's going to join in as well, and Crystal uses heal, but I don't think he's got enough left. Flandre going to join in. The Lantern's there to save him. Beast goes in. Ella gets him away with the box, blocks the ulti, and they save their AD carry.
Now, with the ultimate down, they might look for the re-engage, but with Crystal Solo, they don't. So this will be a turret pickup. Not quite the kill. It was a really nice move from Lung to get that ultimate against the wall, but they cannot pick up that kill on Crystal.
Oh my god, Hart took so much damage from that LeBlanc.
Sometimes those chains cross the map.
I agree, and you can see what happens when they don't have enough, as Flandre does get ultied up there. Chompers as well, but Hart gonna get hooked in. Punish goes in, takes out Beast. Ella getting low as well, but they're diving everything onto Jinx. Takes her out with the LeBlanc. Flandre's kiting away and somehow escapes, and Crystal life-stealing back up. Still here, you going massive there for the double. Sivir cleans out the next kill, and Snake's team fighting still not lost in the offseason. A 4-for-1 win.
The unsung hero was Beast, who got a flash unburrow onto 4 members, died for the pain, but they fought in the backline so smartly. Crystal never under threat. With all those items, you knew that with that Ricochet bouncing around, health bars were being disintegrated on the side of unlimited potential.
And you can see Snake actually training towards the Baron now. Take out the Dragon, that's their third. Going to move for the Baron, that'll be their first if they take it out. Almost 10,000 gold ahead of unlimited potential, and unfortunately for this game, time is running out for the newcomers.
Rek'Sai has so many tunnels outside the map, 5 men there already. Alistar will probably get there just to hear the sound of the death of the Baron, and they can just choose who they want to go for this big minion wave. Maybe we'll learn something. Will it finally be Flandre picking up a big minion wave?
Well, I can see you and Flandre actually having a bit of a race for it. You does pick it up there, actually, so it seems respect to the mid laner.
For what Flandre, remember, famously has had those games where he played the likes of top lane Java and just walked wherever the farm wasn't to try and be an EQ bot. I thought maybe finally he would get some of that juicy side farm, but still has to watch as other people take it away.
Good solo farm though from Flandre and you. 260 or more apiece here for the other two as well. Long 214, 206 there for Punish. So again, we talked about the early game. Snake constantly finding farm when unlimited potential was stacked up as 4, and it's shown here. The gold lead, okay, sure, plenty of kills, lots of turrets, and a Baron and some Dragons going to add to that lead, but just the overall farm differential's rather high in this game as well.
And that's the thing, you add up the numbers. Snake are finding creeps that UP couldn't. Lots of creeps. And when you see this situation where there's about 100 CS difference between the two teams, that just means that 100 of Snake's creeps died to UP's turrets, not to any of the champions' kill streak.
You can see the Baron minions coming in. You just going to poke out. Oh! Amy goes down in 3 spells there to the LeBlanc. That was so much damage. Ultimate bot by Crystal. Flandre, it's a chomper. Ella going in. Flandre going in deep. Finds in onto Sketch, and Flandre gets headbutted away, taking both turrets and still alive. Long tries to go in, looks for an ult, he doesn't get it. Ella gets the next one. Punish goes down. Hart dies as well. It's a 5-for-0 for Snake, and that's game.
And that extra 100 CS bought them so many tanky stats. Flandre in particular disregarded double Nexus turrets for a good 15 seconds. They're going to power down these turrets, and Snake, the new Snake, is looking pretty damn great.
They are indeed. Not really too far where they left off the last season, perhaps even just a step better, but Snake looking strong in their opening game of the LPL season as you stone-faced after the victory. He's like, yes, I did 3-shot your jungler.
I'm actually going to disagree with you, Page Time. Respectfully, though. Snake looking like the team that started up the LPL spring, blowing people away. Towards the end, that's when kind of the seams were coming off. The hype train was derailing a little bit. The end of the season, not the best time for Snake. The beginning of the season was massive, and they start again. Flandre on Aurelia. Never gets to play it more than every first game of a split, apparently, but looks pretty good at it.
Yeah, it's probably in his contract that he gets to play it for at least the first game, but a very strong game there as well. My favorite part of Flandre's item build. Think about it. Trinity Force, Frozen Heart, Randy Omen. He's building a GA.
He likes armor.
Here's one job. Dive Scatch
Exactly.
under the turret.
But that's the thing. Dive Scatch, and if there's a turret, other people hitting, whatever. It doesn't matter when you got that much armor.
Yeah, and the tenacity as well from really even the Ninja Tubway thrown in. Find a joy to watch. Snake as well with a great opening game. And UP, you could see the glimmers there, but again, a new